Let's do it for Miami Dolphins. The pressure, he's in trouble. Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it! You have got to be kidding me. Jalen Waddle. It's a Dolphin touchdown. Throwing deep upfield on the near side. Man open. Touchdown! Looking deep. He's got a man. Touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. He's got it for a touchdown. Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go!
You're listening to Fin Too Deep.
Tua back to throw, blitz coming, and get to him. No, he takes off running, and he's in. Touchdown, Miami.
With the sixth pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Jalen Waddle.
Giving you unfiltered, informed, and controversial takes on the Miami Dolphins and the NFL Draft. Here's Reason and Neal.
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we are back here for another one as we dive Fin Too Deep. As always, I'm joined by my co-host Neal Driscoll. Neal, how you feeling, man? I asked Richmond in ball game. We're in the lull of the offseason, probably the slowest time of the offseason right now. But South Florida fans, they got the Panthers playing tonight. They had the Heat yesterday.
God, Jimmy Butler, man. Jimmy Butler is insane.
Oh my God!
Insane.
I
don't know if I've ever seen. I like out of all professional sports, NBA is my least favorite. I'll say that I'm a lone Wizards fan, and they've been so awful for so long. The only good thing that ever really come out of being a fan of their franchise is I got to see Michael Jordan play live, right? Other than that, man, like Jimmy Butler looks amazing. The Heat just seem like they want it more. Like I know Celtics fans aren't panicking yet, and it's only one game, but man, it just seems like Jimmy Butler isn't going to miss a shot when it matters in this whole playoff series. Good for them, and yeah, in playoff hockey, I mean, it's a good time in South Florida. I mean, I watched the actual game the other night, and I was shocked by it. And I know that you've probably seen on Twitter all the Kevin Harlan Miami Dolphin references. I thought it was really cool. You had a Tua, you had a Jalen Ramsey, Xavier Howard. It's cool that like you have that kind of star power on the Dolphins football team, that they're in the middle of an NBA playoff game talking about, you know what I mean? Like, I thought that was pretty cool.
Dude, you know, what's crazy about, the Panthers took care of business, so, I was happy to see the Leafs go out. But on top of that, with basketball right now, bro, like, dude, Jimmy just finds these different levels, and you can still say the Heat are still like a secondary player away from being like ridiculous. And even still, it looks like they might make that run, man. And let's hope the Dolphins catch a little bit of that, huh?
Right, like keep the momentum. I would say this, like I don't like, again, a casual NBA fan. From what I've seen, the Heat are better without Tyler Hero. I think Tyler Hero, for whatever reason, just doesn't fit their mold. And I think Jimmy, if I think Bam and Jimmy are obviously the two guys there, right? If they could get a better facilitator of the ball on that team, they'll be lethal. I think it's going to be Nuggets and Heat. If that's just from what I've seen, I think Denver's just.
I think it's going to be. I think the Lakers are still going to win that series, bro.
For as a casual fan that wants to see that, I would love to see Heat Lakers. That's what
That'd be awesome. That's what I want.
I want that to happen. I hate to say this, as long as the Celtics don't win it, I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, no one likes Boston sports.
I'm tired of them.
I hate Bruins. I hate the Celtics. I hate the Patriots. I liked the Red Sox in the early 2000s when they hadn't won in 100 years, and you wanted them to beat the Yankees. You remember you wanted them to beat the Yankees, and then they had that. Remember they were down 3-1 in that series, and they came back and beat the Yankees, and then they went on to win the World Series. Okay, that was a cool story, but after that, we were all sick of the Red Sox.
I mean, look, they had the greatest dynasty in NFL history. The Celtics are probably, if you look at championships, the pillar of what you want as a franchise. And I actually just like seeing Dave Portnoy miserable, man. That guy talks so much trash about the Dolphins and Tua, and I just like seeing him have to eat crow. So
You know what was the breaking point with me with the Red Sox though? Was that movie Fever Pitch with Drew Barrymore and Jimmy Fallon. I was like, here we go. Now we're monetizing these guys who haven't won over 100 years. Stop with this right now.
I have seen that movie once.
Never again. And as sports fans, those would be the ones we'd recommend to the wives to watch, okay?
Oh my God, movie.
And we're like, no thanks. Anyways, Dolphins, bro. It's the lull right now. I know everyone wants to hear you. I mean, people have heard me talk about, Isaiah Wynn and Cedric Ogbuehi being added to nauseum here. But I want to hear your thoughts on it, specifically Isaiah Wynn, because I had a rant earlier this week, Neil. And I know, I haven't been as active. I'm watching more than I'm active on Twitter, especially these couple of days. Now I'm sick. Plus, I'm dealing with this nerve stuff right now. So I'm, in pain over here. But I'm still sitting here watching. And I know you watch too because you've been busy lately too. So you've been watching more than you've been really active. And plus, it's the lull.
Yeah, it's kind of like a little vacation away.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Because you got the lull. You can escape right now. It's the perfect timing, really, if you think about it, for me to have this issue. I would like having this issue in training camp. That would be a nightmare for me. So I got to ask you this. I know you've seen it. There were certain media members and other people jumping on the bandwagon of fan sites that were kind of like gatekeeping where Isaiah Wynn's going to play, Neil. And what I like about having when me and you talk, especially all these fans, we watch prospects before they even come out. You're not one of these people who say, oh, well, we won't watch the tape. We'll wait until training camp. We've already watched the tape.
Right.
Isaiah Wynn, I mean, you've noticed this, right? The people pushing back at the idea of him at left guard. I don't understand it because Cedric Ogbuehi, if you want my honest opinion, bro, I don't know if I've told you this because we haven't had a chance to talk before the show. That's who I think the competition for Jackson is.
I agree.
I think Isaiah Wynn he's filling in for Armstead and Eichenberg. That's your competition because me and you had heard way prior to the draft, they were more concerned with left guard than they were with right tackle internally. Isaiah Wynn, okay, you got people in the media who are gatekeeping him, and he won't be moved. And they never even knew he played guard at Georgia, or they never even watched the film.
That's where he started and he played majority of his snaps.
Oh, bro, I'm setting this up for you to knock it out because you loved Isaiah Wynn coming out of Georgia. Tell everyone where you loved Isaiah Wynn. And I got to add to it before because I don't want to interrupt you. I want to give you the whole 4. You know what people seem to be forgetting, Neil? And I keep hammering this home so people can go in their spaces or on Twitter and they can fight fire with fire here. Am I the only one who remembers Joe Tooney was the starting left guard and all-pro left guard when they drafted Isaiah Wynn? That's why they kicked him out to left tackle. Plus, he played his last year at left tackle in Georgia. But still, that's why look at Michael Onwenu. I loved him coming out of Michigan. But they played him at right guard, and they didn't kick him to left guard. Why? Because they had Tooney.
Right.
People seem to be forgetting Tooney was on the roster. That's why Wynn never got a look at left guard. What's your opinion on the whole Wynn thing, bro? Because it seems like, your thoughts align with mine to an extent.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw it come through, so, just to set the stage, when he came out of Georgia, I had him as the number 3 interior offensive lineman in that draft class. Number 1 that year was Quentin Wilson. I can't remember who was at number 2, but I know that I had Isaiah Wynn at number 3, and I saw a mauler, a kind of a road grader in the running game, a guy that played really well against Alabama and LSU's defensive fronts. And I was like, wow. And then when the Patriots drafted and moved in the tackle, like Bill Belichick, top 3 NFL coach of all time, probably the number 1 most stubborn coach of all time too. Right. Like they don't always get it right either. And I think that he was playing out of position for multiple years there. Like I saw the one game that he had graded, and everyone was overreacting to one game. Like, look, guys, spoiler alert, Liam Eichenberg and Austin Jackson are absolutely horrible football players. There's 53 men on each NFL roster. And I think I did the math the other day, 700 whatever total players. Eichenberg and Austin Jackson are at the bottom of that list. They should not be starting. And if they are your starters and you have an inkling that you're going to start them, you need to bring in legitimate competition. I think what the Dolphins are kind of doing, Reason, is what my old strategy was with Madden. When I played a lot of Madden, I would do seasons, right? You had the salary cap on. I didn't want to spend big on offensive line. I wanted to go get Randy Moss, and I wanted the franchise quarterback. So I cheaped it on the offensive line by, you know what I did? Death by 100 veterans. So I wanted guys that had experience that I could put on there, that were rated like a 72, but, they could get the job done. And I think that's what the Dolphins are trying to do. I really like the Isaiah Wynn signing. I don't think that anyone in the media or us know exactly the Dolphins' plan. I know they like that he's versatile. They like that he's versatile.
Yeah.
That's a good thing because the way I see it, day one of training camp, it's going to be Terron Armstead, Liam Eichenberg, Connor Williams, Robert Hunt, then Austin Jackson. But they're going to have to – I think Liam Eichenberg and Austin Jackson aren't veterans that are going to have to get to coast through the preseason. They're going to have to go out and earn it. And it's not going to just be Isaiah Wynn and Cedric Abui. It's going to be Lester Cotton. It's going to be Dan Feeney.
Robert Jones.
Robert Jones. They are going to do whatever they have to do. I'm really excited right now because in 13 days, the Dolphins get $13.6 million in cap space. I don't know if anyone saw that Nick Hicks is out. Dalvin Cook's in Miami, really training with Nick Hicks, and haven't talked to Nick. I don't think Nick's just putting it out there that they're always just to have fun. There's a little poking at it. Like he is, he works with them, but I think there's a reason that Dalvin is in Miami. And I think that in June 1st, you're going to hear quickly, we'll know the verdict really quick in the next 13 days. But on the offensive line, I think Isaiah Wynn is an improvement at left guard. And I had him as the 4th overall interior offensive line in all of free agency. My number 58 overall player on my top 100 free agents, only behind Dalton Risner, who's still out there, Rodney Hudson, who retired, and who was the third jabroni that I had above him? I don't even remember, but I know that I had him above Ben Powers, who got paid literally 6 times more than him per year. So when you look at this, it's a 1-year, $2.5 million deal. That tells me he's going to be on the roster. So I think if you look at the starting 5, you can say Dan Feeney and Isaiah Wynn are going to be on the roster. And depending on how much they have, like, I don't know if they keep 8 or 9 linemen. They might keep 9 because Armstead's availability. But there's going to be 2 spots out there for 4, with 4 or 5 guys vying for the position. But Isaiah Wynn, for when that signing happened, I think was a good move. I mean, I'm not going to go out there and say that I think he's Larry Allen on the Dallas Cowboys. I'm not that foolish. But I do think that when you look at adding who you can, to me, the only 2 players that were worth adding at the interior offensive line were him or Dalton Risner, and the Dolphins did one of them. Like, there's only so much you can do. Everyone's always says well, we're not done the offseason. There's going to be June cuts. We don't know what the June cuts are going to look like. You know what I mean? You know that Isaiah Wynn's available right now, and that he has upside and he has versatility. And I think when you have an offensive lineman where your left tackle is going to miss a quarter of the season, you need to have people that can be versatile and you can throw into the fire. So I like it. I like that he comes from a division rival because he's probably going to come with a chip on his shoulder. Like, more than anything, he's probably saying, this is my opportunity to show New England that they missed on me.
Yeah.
And that's where, you got to think about this. He did not get his big payday, right? He did not get big payday. This is a prove-it deal. If this doesn't go well for Isaiah Wynn, he's no more than a journeyman going forward. So,
and if it does go well, we got a step ahead of everyone on a solid on interior alignment, and we can fix that left side for good. We don't got to worry about Eichenberg or nothing. You got that figured out.
And I would say this, it doesn't alleviate all of my concerns about the line reasons. I still have a little bit of concern about the offensive line. I'm not going to act like it's also, on the last time we did this, I said the Dolphins Super Bowl contender. I believe that in spite of that offensive line, because I think there's so much talent around it. But I would say this, do I think Isaiah Wynn today is a better player than Liam Eichenberg? Yes. 10 out of 10 times. And that's all that matters to me. It's not about solving the problem with a 5-star
upgrading it.
Upgrade it. Give it legitimate competition. That's legitimate competition.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to see. Chris Grier, this is a big year. Chris Grier's made a lot of great moves. Ramsey, Tyreek, the Waddle draft. If this year goes astray because of the offensive line, I still think he could get fired, as good as he's been.
Yeah, because if everyone and their grandmother outside of the building knows it, what do you think the people inside the building think?
Right. And that's where it goes. And I think that's at the end of the day, Chris Grier, this is a big year for the Miami Dolphins. It's a huge year for Tua, but there's nobody with more pressure on him than Chris Grier, because look at the money he spent. Look at the draft capital he spent to get this team where it is. I love the roster. I think this is the best roster we've had in 20 years. So I think he's done a great job. But, the elephant in the room is, can this offensive line protect our quarterback? Because you know what, Reason? We've heard this all offseason, all the talking heads. Well, what happens if Tua gets hurt again? Well, let me play contrarian to that. What happens if Tua stays healthy all season? Because when he was healthy at the midway point of the season, even Pat Mahomes wasn't playing at his level, if we're being honest. So I want to say you have the right quarterback. You have the Super Bowl roster. Do not let this slip away because you're putting your faith in Austin Jackson and Liam Eichenberg, because I'll say this. We have enough evidence to know that is just absolutely insanity to do.
I'm going to tell you this much. If that man stays healthy, I know we've heard it in spurts, but we will hear more consistently than ever, and we will hear it all the way till the end of the season through the Rock. Loud chance of MVP if that man stays healthy. That's all I got to say about Tua and his health.
Right.
Okay.
Do your job. Don't let him get crushed. And I think left guard's so important with Isaiah Wynn because I have faith in him being able to anchor there. Right.
Well, you want to listen. Two holes are hard to fix, especially on opposite sides of the line.
Right.
One you can deal with. Two, that's when leaks start becoming, a little bit too much. That's when you start getting towards the Titanic here.
Right.
Shout out to Aladino. He recently lost his brother due to cancer. I'm sorry to hear that. And,
I'm sorry to hear that.
He said this keeps me sane. So hey, I'm glad we can alleviate some of those negative feelings, even just for an hour or so. And shout out to Robert Thompson.
Family, man.
Yeah, he lost his brother last year to cancer. So shout out to all of y'all going through it right now, man. If we could give you even an hour or a little bit longer, to take your mind off everything, that's what we're here for, man. And
DMs are always open to chat, talk, man. Look, this is the community that we're part of. It's not just about talking Dolphins for an hour every week. If you guys want to jump into DMs and ever have a conversation, man, I'm here. I've been through some hell of my life. I've dealt with a lot of that kind of stuff in my life as well. So I'm always here to talk. And we really appreciate everyone's support and we want to give it back.
So what are your thoughts on Cedric Ogbuehi before we move on here?
Again, I think he's a depth guy. I think, there's worse moves it could be. I like how they did both. Reason I like that they signed both guys. Like they said, we're going to throw resources at this. I still don't think they're done at offensive line. I still think that, depending on how the June shakeout goes, I don't think the Dolphins have any intention of carrying any cap space over to next year. I really don't. Yeah. I think that they, let's say they get a Dalvin Cook, right? I think they're going to give him a contract structure so they can go out and add another player too. I think they're going all in on this season because I truly think they know the windows now next year. They'll figure out the cap next year. We've seen the Saints be $70 million over the cap, pay Jameis Winston $20 million a year and still figure a way to get under the cap, right? Brandon Shure and them do a really good job with contract structure. But, I think they want to see what they have here. But, I can't fault them for adding two solid veterans to this offensive line. Again, is he a better player than some of the depth we have out there? Yes. Is he a kind of a disappointment as a first-round pick? Sure, he was. But we're not drafting him to be a first-round pick. We're not drafting him to be, a Lane or signing him to be a Lane Johnson out there. We want him to be a serviceable depth piece. So, as long as these guys play their role, these are good signings. I don't know if Cedric's going to make the team. I wouldn't say 100% he is. I think Isaiah Wynn is. But you can't fault them for bringing good veterans in to go battle for positions.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think anything's a lock for Cedric Ogbuehi, but I think Isaiah Wynn, it's pretty much, it's a lock for him. Before we get into a few things here, bro, I don't know if you saw this, but I wanted to go over this. A few points here on this 6-pack of notes from Barry Jackson tonight. And
no, I didn't see this.
Okay, so he says among the Brandon Pili sounds awfully confident he might make this roster, brother. Among the Dolphins, 18, and I mean, you got guaranteed $100,000, and there's no one really to battle, I would say, after Jenkins left. So, anyways, among the Dolphins, 18 remaining undrafted rookies, defensive tackle Brandon Pili is unique in this regard. He's the only one trying to win a specific job that doesn't have a veteran player already under contract. The Dolphins have a veteran starting nose tackle, Raekwon Davis, but don't have a backup under contract after Jenkins signed with Las Vegas. Pili said it's too soon to think about any of that. He's simply happy the Dolphins thought enough of him to give us a generous guarantee of $100,000 and a chance to earn a roster spot. It's a beautiful place, a team with a beautiful tradition, and they gave me a great opportunity, he said, of opting for Miami over other offers. There's also a familiarity, having been coached at Southern Cal by Austin Clark, the Dolphins defensive line coach. Yeah, Pili's freshman season at Southern Cal was Clark's final season as USC's defensive line coach and outside linebackers coach. Clark called him after the draft and reiterated the Dolphins' interest. He said, to keep my head up, even though I didn't get drafted, and that I'll still get an opportunity. We had good chemistry when we were back at USC. He said he would have work with me, and I would love to come back and work with him. Pili had 14 tackles that season and finished his USC career with 74 tackles, including 10 of those for a loss, 4 sacks in 40 games. He missed the 2021 season with a torn Achilles. His strengths, he says he's pretty athletic for his size. With Clark as his coach, Pili played his freshman season at 345. He played at 320 to 325 the next 2 years and was 315 last season. And he says he feels best playing around the 320 range. Wherever they need me to be, I'll be able to play at that weight. He joked that he and Tua Tagovailoa are the only 2 Polynesians in Florida. Another Polynesian defensive tackle, Vita Vea, was a former first-round pick and 2021 Pro Bowler, and Pili said he watched a lot of film at Washington and has tried to model a lot of my game after him. Now, this is one of the names where, I think the legitimate shots, when you look at the UDFA class, are Aubrey Miller. I think Turk has a legitimate shot to beat out Bailey. I think the South Florida media is really downplaying that. And I think this is the other guy, Brandon Pili. And, listen, you can tell there's a quiet confidence to him. And I want to get your thoughts on this, because they guaranteed him a whole hell of a lot of money for a UDFA. He got the most out of our whole UDFA class, $100,000.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts?
They have plans for this type of player, whether if he has to spend one redshirt season kind of on the practice squad, they have a vision for him. When you watch him, man, he fills the gaps well. He's hard to move. He's got good size. He does have good quickness for his size. I think he's a guy that's going to be viable. When you look at the Dolphins defensive line in the front, you have Agba, you have Wilkins, you have Raekwon, you have Sealer. But after that, man, you don't have a lot of depth. You need that big run clogger who's going to free up the linebackers. And there's not another guy on the line. And if this guy takes this opportunity and runs with it, and they don't go out there and sign a veteran, this could be his position to lose. So I'm with you. I had this guy on my radar a couple years ago because, I watch a lot of USC because they're on the West Coast. I watch a lot of them in Oregon because when they play on like Friday nights or Saturday nights, their games start at 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, they're late, like Oregon games.
Up to 1 o'clock when the family's sleeping, watching them. So I love watching them. And you could see that he is a strong cat in the middle of that defense who moves really well for his size. I mean, look, that tells me that, there's no competition for him. So go see this. I hope that he's in the weight room. He's working hard. And not to mention, we don't have Wilkins under contract, and Raekwon Davis is a free agent. So they can't keep everybody. So they need to start developing some of these young guys. And could this be their next kind of Cater Kohu gem that they found?
Yeah. Check this little nugget out too. Zeke Vandenburgh, who played defensive end and outside linebacker during a breakout 14-sack season at Illinois State last year, said he's working at inside linebacker for the Dolphins.
I like that. I like that a lot for him.
He said he played all over at Illinois State, inside and outside. I'm trying to learn everything, help the team any way I can. I just had a few offers after the draft. I'm like, that's another guy I like. There's, there are a couple in this UDFA class that are nice, man. And another one here, one longtime NFL scout who's not authorized by his team to speak publicly, told me what's underrated about Dolphins rookie running back Devon Achane is he's got really, really good hands. The kid has wide receiver type hands and receiving skills. He can snatch the ball and catch downfield. He's a good receiver, can run, is tough, productive, has everything you want except for the size. I don't know if you saw, brother, but he's up to 192 already.
I did. I mean, dude, it's this guy's going to be a ball player here. I just saw someone in the chat say, why do we need Dalvin Cook? And it's not about needing the player, right? It's about adding an elite talent to your team when you're ready to run. But I have a feeling a huge portion of this fan base would be completely gutted if the Vikings decided, you know what, we're going to keep Dalvin Cook. I wouldn't be so gutted because I just think Devon Achane
more opportunities.
It would not surprise me if halfway through the season, if he's the starting running back on this team. And to what you just said, a lot of I have one really big criticism of Tua Tagovailoa that I think where he needs to improve is in the check down game. But I will also say this: we haven't done a lot of favors to make him feel comfortable doing so. Given a guy like Achane, that I said this to you kind of offline one time, his ability to catch the pass reminds me a little bit of Ray Rice in Baltimore. And I don't know if people remember Ray Rice before the incident with his wife, but one of the things Joe Flacco did really well was drop the ball to him 5 yards off the line of scrimmage. He'd make that linebacker miss, man, and he was just shifty and hard to reach. And he never had the speed that Devon Achane had.
Yeah.
Devon Achane is going to be a threat in this passing game. I think that people think of running backs and think about running between the tackles too much, which he can do. But what I see him doing, man, is coming out of the backfield on swing routes, making a corner miss in the open field and being gone. And running those jet fly routes,
running wheels and stuff.
Get behind the secondary because we emphasize this every single time we're on the air, and you have to talk about your team's great strength. When you have a Tyreek Hill and you have a Jalen Waddle, that is speed that no one can cover, and you add this third element to it. Like there is only so many guys that can handle that type of world class talent. There's a vision. Mike McDaniel, man, like you saw the draft video, like that dude. I picture him, man, sitting there at 3:00 in the morning in like a little sweater that's like, him all weird, hitting a vape, just laughing, throwing up plays that Devon Achane, like he's going to have his special packages all season. But like, I think people out of all the draft analysis that I've seen, I think the most underrated move this whole offseason in this draft cycle was the Dolphins getting Devon Achane. I think he's that good.
Look what Tannenbaum said. Tannenbaum said there's not a linebacker in the league that can stay with him in man-to-man.
Yeah, I mean, look, dude, it's been years since we talked about it. I saw that one guy coming at you like, oh, da. Like, it's been years. Like, we should like publish our back and forth on messages and text because people I think would be alarmed by how much we watch these players before this happens. Like it's not a homer reaction. Like we were on these shows for the whole season saying this is a guy we want the Dolphins to get. This is why. I think people just like want you to be wrong or something sometimes because it's like
gotcha moments. Everyone's looking for the gotcha moments.
It's like, geez, look, good Lord, everyone spends so much time trying to prove people wrong. Use that time to go watch the players yourself. Build your own boards. The beauty of it is you're wrong as much as you're right. It's kind of like baseball, man. If you get 3 out of 10 right, they might put you in the Hall of Fame. Like I just hate that that's like out there. Like everyone's like, oh, you didn't want him. Like you've said it on the show for a year and a half. Like it is what it is.
Look at my resume. Everyone knows on YouTube, me and EM Dolphin fans started the Tua train on YouTube in this community. Other guys I liked in that draft. You remember I really wanted Tristan Wirfs and Jonathan Taylor. They didn't come here, but we see how they worked out. Okay. I didn't like Austin Jackson was my OT10. We've seen how that worked out. I liked Curtis Weaver. They took him, didn't work out. Right.
And he didn't work out in Cleveland either. So it's not like it was a Dolphins
Me and EM were high on Solomon Kinley pre-draft. Didn't work out, but they took him.
And he had a great first season.
Yeah. Then you look at the next year. I remember being on Twitter arguing with idiots in his fan base about how Waddle was wide receiver 1, not Devontae Smith. And look at how that's worked out, right? On top of that, Javon Holland was a guy I'd been talking about since 2020. You talk about watching these late games. Heard one great thing about when we were scouting quarterbacks, Herbert. You could catch Herbert live like every Friday night when everyone was asleep, and I'd get caught watching the defense and Javon Holland, right? I remember going in, bro. I remember going to the panels, like panel shows on YouTube back in the day. People were out here saying that they wouldn't take Phillips with the Jalen Phillips because of his injury history with the pick we took Holland at. And I was going in there telling people this guy, if he did not have his injury history, he would be Chase Young level hype coming into this draft. And you see he's outproduced Chase Young. Like
I was going to say he's a better player than Chase Young right now.
Like I keep hitting on all these players, bro, that make sense. And that look at, we drafted Hunter Long. Who did I want us to draft? Quinn Miners. Who would you take now, looking back at it, especially with how our interior has been a mess? You know what I mean? Like,
I even forgot about Hunter Long on our team, to be honest.
Well, yeah, because we're still amazed we got something for him, more than a bag of chips, right?
Right.
So, and then now you look at this year, they drafted another one of my man crushers, bro. I'm up to over a half dozen over here, bro, in just the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So, it's that's why, like, bro, listen, but you know how much I love Devon Achane, and you know how much his fan base has been pushing for a running back. I've said it before, I'll say it again, bro. I don't buy screen press jerseys. I will buy a Devon Achane. What I'm waiting to see is what happens with Trill.
Yeah.
If Trill doesn't make the move to safety, or if he's not fully recovered, and because of that depth in that room gets cut, where do you think 6 is going, right?
Right.
Same thing with Noah. If Noah doesn't make it out, where do you think 9's going? Cam.
Dude, you almost can't buy jerseys anymore because of this number thing.
Yeah, you gotta wait. You gotta wait till the season starts.
Yeah, it's almost tough. And if you do buy, like here in Baltimore, everyone was going out and running out and getting the 18 Roquan Smith jersey, and he changed his number to 0. So you go out and buy these jerseys, man, and they're not cheap. And I don't wear jerseys out. Like I only wear them on football Sunday. I literally have 84 Dolphins jerseys in a closet. I'll put the pick out there later. I bought the Minkah Fitzpatrick one. I never actually even got a chance to wear it because he was gone so fast. You know what I mean? Like, but this is to our conversation earlier. One of the reasons I stay off Twitter during this time of year is because the conversations are never good. It's always like a reach to even have a conversation about something, and it gets too desperate of a conversation. Yeah. Like I'll wait till the pads come on in the mini camp, but it's one of those things that like. For me, this is the time of the year right now where usually I'm like looking at the Dolphins' holes. I'm wondering I don't have any of that going on. I have my sights on week 1 against the Chargers and us going there and beating their ass. Like that's what I'm thinking about. Like that schedule thing got me so fired up last year. I saw people think the Dolphins media team did a bad job. I'm like, man, like you guys,
I like that. Yeah,
I liked it. I'm like, what is the goal? But like, I don't have any concerns outside of the offensive line on this team at all right now.
Did you see CBS predicted us to be 8-9?
No, I did not. Really? Who? Do you know who?
CBS. I don't remember who it was. Let me bring it up.
Because we talk about guys a lot. The guy who I love the most, who I think does one of the best NFL previews, is Warren Sharp. I don't know if everyone.
Yeah. Everyone on this channel, these people are familiar with Warren Sharp because of me. Yep.
So Warren Sharp does a great job. He does deep analytic breakdowns of players, and he just did his top 10 fantasy quarterbacks this year, and Tua was in that top 10. Just for those wondering, but he does a really good job of breaking it down. And then Mike Clay from ESPN has been putting out the positional rankings.
We've been going over them here. We went over the he put up the cornerback.
The only position that even our offensive line, like we're kind of close to the middle of the pack. The only position that you would look at that and be like, oh my God, we suck, is tight end. And I hope that we get something more out of the position than he thinks. But you look at everything: edge rusher, defensive line, wide receiver, corners. We are in the top 5 for all these positions. And he, at worst case, he had I think Tua as the Dolphins quarterback room is the top. I think it was 11. If that's the floor for this thing, this team's going to be really good because but 8-9.
Will Brinson.
Yeah, that guy's
he's got the Bills 12-5, the Jets 10-7, 9-8 Patriots, and 8-9 Dolphins. And I said to Richmond in ball game, do you know what would need to happen? Like our whole secondary would need to be depleted. Like our defensive front would need to be injured. Not just Tua. Like so much would need to go wrong.
To quote the great Bobby the Brain Heenan, Will Brinson's a ham and egger. I honestly, I've seen that guy's work. At the end of the day, good. Tell us Tua's not a top 10 quarterback. Tell us we're going to go 8-9. Do all you want to say it. When the games start coming and this Dolphin team's 6-0 or something like that, 5-1, and then everyone's like, "Oh my God, this team's for real." That Princess K. Adams is giving us a lot of credit.
You saw the ESPN power rankings had a 6th overall right now. And I said, and you remember we did our power rankings basically, and I said we were 4th if San Fran doesn't have their quarterback situation figured out. We're 5th if they do.
Yep. I think we're 4 or 5 or 6, 4 to 6 is probably where we fall.
And that's probably where Clay would have us overall. Is he going to do do you think he does an overall at the end of all this?
Well, if you hit his bio, he actually has a full publication. I think he should do it. I would like to see him do it because I think if you look at the Dolphins roster on paper
that front. Dude, when I put listen to this. If you want to go out of 4-3 packages, look at this front. Look at this front, 4 out of 4-3 packages. Chubb and Phillips on each end, kick Ogba and Wilkins inside, and then you can rotate guys like Seiler and Raekwon and Van Ginkel through there. That's disgusting, bro. Who's stopping that?
And honestly, I think it's going to be a good year for Ogba. I think Ogba's going to have a really good year, man. And I think it's probably going to be his last year in Miami, regardless if he plays well or not. But I think what I've seen him say in this offseason is the right approach. He said the Dolphins paid him. I think we forget because we look at the stat box, we don't see the sacks, but we forget how good Ogba was 2 years ago. He was he was one of the best players on that whole defense in a whole. So I think that, even that's a good move where he'll play the run really well. I mean, I like the video I saw this week with Kay Adams just talking about Vic Fangio and adding Jalen Ramsey. Like, I don't think there's been a seismic shift on this defense from the leadership, but from everything that we've done. David Long was probably one of the most underrated moves of the whole offseason. The guy's only getting $5.5 million a year, and he plays like his hair is on fire, right? Like, this defense is going to be really, really good. If the defense does what Mike Clay has in his rankings, Reason, this team has a top, 6-7 offense and a top 5-6 defense. Like, that's the recipe for winning.
So let me ask you this, because that's one of the names I would throw out there. There's a lot of overlooked Dolphins heading into this season because everyone's thinking about what Waddle and Hill are going to do, what Tua can do if he's healthy. Everyone's talking about Ramsey, what X will do now with Ramsey there, what Holland will do now, with responsibilities alleviated off of him. We're just talking about the front. Who do you think's the most overlooked Dolphin right now? Because I think one of the guys you just named there, David Long, to me, seems to he's been lost in the shuffle to an extent because of the Ramsey move and all the other big names around him. And now the hype is around Dalvin Cook and stuff. Another guy too is Deshaun Elliott, who's probably going to, contribute this year too. Who do you think's the most overlooked Dolphin right now? Because you can even make the case for Raheem Mostert right now because of everyone looking at Dalvin Cook when Mostert averaged 4.9 yards per carry last year. I got to go with David Long because I think everyone's just forgotten how good this is, how big of a steal and a high value. I love the high value contracts, how high value of a contract that was, but also how much of a game changer and impact player he is at that second level, which we haven't had in years since Kiko was here, bro. So, and Kiko wasn't this good.
No.
What are your thoughts? Who's the most?
I'll do like the Olympic setup with the pedestal. So I'll start at bronze. My bronze would be Emmanuel Ogbah. I think he's going to be. My silver would be David Long Jr. My gold is actually Bradley Chubb, and the reason I say Bradley Chubb is because
Phillips. Everyone's hyping Phillips.
Well, we have Phillips, we have Ramsey, we have X,
You're right, bro.
Holland. Everybody talks Christian Wilkins. Have we forgot how good Bradley Chubb was? Like,
especially under Fangio, he's an All-Pro.
Well, so you're stealing the words from my mouth. He comes back to the guy that he played an All-Pro under, right? But there's too much box score watching. Like, people act like Bradley Chubb was a complete bum here. Bradley Chubb played really well. He just didn't have sack numbers. In that playoff game against Buffalo, I'd argue he was the best player on the entire defense, actually. So I think with Bradley Chubb, because I actually think the league is going to shift their adjustments to say Jalen Phillips is their best pass rusher. And I think they're right. But that means that instead of getting the best, game plan against them, Bradley Chubb's going to get a secondary game plan. He's going to be going against. Bradley Chubb is going to be, I wouldn't be shocked if he was the defensive MVP of this football team next year. That's how good I think Bradley Chubb's going to be with that defensive front and Vic Fangio, and he's motivated and he's paid and he's not content. He's already working out. Look at it. Look what he's doing. And, we see the videos of two of them working out. Bradley Chubb's putting it in the work. So is Terran Armstead, man. These guys, we have a different roster than we've ever had, man, because these guys are destined to get better. We used to have guys that got paid. You see them doing nothing but bullshitting around all offseason. Terran Armstead, man, that guy's got piles of money. He's got piles of Pro Bowls. He doesn't need more. That dude's out there working his ass off for this football season. This team has something about them that is majestic, man. I am telling you, majestic, I mean to say. I'm sorry about that. But I see something in this core of this team we've lacked for years. I think there's times in the last 20 years, there it is, the culture. I think in the last 20 years, like that team was Zach Thomas, Jason Taylor, Madison Surtain. Those were Super Bowl teams that lacked that kind of intensity, that type of culture. It seemed like the defense was on one side, the offense was on another. There was no camaraderie. This team is tight. The community is tight. Like you see Jalen Ramsey saying, Jimmy Butler, come join us. That is really cool to see the fan bases of these teams and these teams kind of interwoven together and creating a culture and a community in South Beach that is special, that is it's paradise. That's what you should have here. So I think it's great to see.
Yeah, but it also starts at the top here because look at the unity we have. Have we ever had a situation? When was the last time, even under Shula, when did we ever have the defensive version of our young offensive head? Like, we have a young offensive genius as a head coach,
Right.
but we have his old aged veteran defensive version of himself as basically a secondary head coach. He's an assistant head coach without the goddamn title because we've given him everything he wants, and he's a high coordinator in the NFL. I mean,
history, right?
Yeah, when have we ever had that kind of unity going all the way to the top like that, where even the coaches are like, they're cut from the same cloth to that extent? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it goes deep right now.
Yeah, we go 43 minutes into this podcast without talking about Mike McDaniel, but let's just be honest. For him to get Vic Fangio here, he has to swallow a lot of his pride because he's a young first-time head coach. He's signing a guy that's, legitimately almost twice his age. And
he cares about the dubs.
And that's what it's about, something that's bigger. If Mike McDaniel had an ego, our defensive coordinator would be Josh
Flores.
Josh Boyer. That to get Vic Fangio, you know what Mike McDaniel really had to do? He probably had to give up 50% of his ownership of the team as the head coach. That's what he had to do. And you know what? The defense is going to be better because of it. Because now Mike McDaniel gets to do, instead of worrying about the defense, he has a guy that is more equipped than anybody in football to take care of the defense. Mike McDaniel has to spend 0 of his time on the defense. He gets to spend 100% of his time on the offense and the play design and structure of this offense. He gets to spend more time on the nuances of being a head coach, situational play calling, time management, utilizing the challenges the right way. He actually gets to focus on what the most important parts of his job are, right? And has a guy that he's entrusted to take care of the rest.
See, I gotta address this though, bro. See, they're missing my point here with Shula and Arnsparger. I'm not talking about the genius level. What I'm talking about is, look at you heard when not only that, they are almost identical. Do you remember when McDaniel talked about the press after they got him, how he sat there and they were talking about film because they're both film nuts. Right. They're both absolutely film nuts, which is but special breed of film nuts. Not every coach is like them. Like the 1,000 clips, cut-ups that McDaniel does is nuts. But then you got him sitting there, he's picking his brain and telling all y'all, I'm asking him why he runs these formations, how he runs these formations. That, like, what I'm saying is they're spitting images of themselves. It's just one's older and been around the block, and the other one's a young and up-and-coming guy. Like that's what I'm saying. If you see McDaniel in 20 years, he's going to be the offensive version of Fangio.
If you like football not just being played on Sundays and get to see the result, you love the strategy of it and the coaching and teaching aspect, there's not a better organization to be in a room right now with than the Dolphins because of what they have. They have a expertise on two sides of the ball. Like the conversations these guys are having behind closed doors, if you went there with a blank legal pad, you're filling that bad boy up and you're coming out a smarter man. There is so much knowledge there. And their approach to it is the same, right? They are both very, like you said, they love breaking down the film. Like, I love that Vic Fangio, when he came in here, was like, I don't really give a shit about watching film of certain players when they're not here. I want to watch them here. I want to see what they did here. Like, he has the right approach. Too often we pay people or we put people in position based off what they did before. No. Let's see what we're going to do with them in the future. Like, if you're going to be a part of this team, like, I think the Vic Fangio hire does so much for this organization as a whole. We know the ramifications that you're going to see on the defensive side of the ball. But, like, we have a guy that's going to come in here as a disciplinarian who's tough, that's going to challenge people, right? Like, I don't know about you. I need structure and challenge in life to be successful. If I have a job where I get to do whatever the hell I want, then I'm fucking looking at mock drafts half a day and I'm not productive, right? I need structure. I need things. And I think that this team has, like, a perfect – you're right. Like, they are kind of splitting images of each other. And just think about this. In 5 years, when Vic Fangio's gone from here, which is likely going to happen, how much better of a coach Mike McDaniel comes out at the other side?
And that's why he's swallowing his pride, because he knows what's on the end of that. Not only might there be chips,
right?
But, that's how you sustain a long career in the NFL as a head coach is you got to be humble and you got to be able to listen and take criticism, but you also got to be able to grow when the proper people around you that provide that growth are there. And is there going to be anyone that can provide him more growth in the coaching tree right now than Fangio in the NFL that was available? Hell no.
Hell no. And the best single player added to any football team this whole offseason, and I want to make sure I'm right, double check it. I think the best single player added to a team this year was Jalen Ramsey. I think the Dolphins acquiring Jalen Ramsey, if you look at the draft and free agency in it, there was not a better move made.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think that not pigeonholing him.
And the ripple effect is going to be even more like it's, like the ripple effect.
And the Cam Smith pick makes me think that even more, because we're not going to pigeonhole Jalen Ramsey as a boundary corner. We're going to allow him to be the most versatile chess piece on the defensive side of the ball in the entire NFL. Like, that is going to be awesome. Because I don't know, one of the things I love about Jalen Ramsey when you watch the tape is that dude is an unbelievable, relentless blitzer, man. Like, his athleticism shines. And, like, those mobile quarterbacks and can run away. You're not running away. You might be able to get away from Jalen Phillips, and he's got great speed. Jalen Ramsey's a closer, man. He gets there, and like I don't know, think people know how tough Jalen Ramsey is. He is going to be the dude. Like, if you're going to go out there and get a freaking Dolphin jersey this year,
and he's got the fire. He's coming back home, brother. He's got that fire under his belly too. This is where people forget. This is where he wanted to come. Well, just like Tyreek Hill. These are where these players want to come here now, bro.
Well, you know who else is from the area? Isaiah Wynn is a Florida guy too. So these guys get to come home. And that's important to these guys, man. I think, and we can talk about that in a sec. But I think that what people don't realize is that, like, you see these guys on the Sunday, and they're making great money. Their contracts are public knowledge. We all know. Once you make in the NFL, you can get life-changing money. But what you don't always know, and it's not public, is the journey they had to take to get there, man.
Yeah.
Like, some of these, Miami, it looks awesome on TV when you put all the palm trees and the lights in the stadium. Not every part of Miami and not every part of Florida is like that. There's some tough upbringings up there, and these guys are grateful for what they've become because of where they come from, man. And that's where, you come home, you have your family in proximity to you. Like, that is a huge piece to this. I remember we questioned if the Dolphins, and I'm not saying we questioned, we posed the question if the Dolphins would ever be a destination, right, for teams after some of the mess with the Flores and stuff. Yeah. I would say they've become the premier destination for players in the NFL. That is the ultimate poker chip to have at your disposal, that people will take less money to play here because they believe in where the organization is headed. They love the culture that has been instilled by Mike McDaniel and the front office. This is what the Dolphins were a crappy organization for almost 20 years, right? I'm just going to say what it is. And they finally have got it right the last 2 or 3 years. And all that is going to do is breed winning. And I think a lot of that is, and a lot of the credit goes to the Mike McDaniel hire. But I think there's also been a lot of combustion opportunity if we had the wrong quarterback here. Tua does not get enough credit for his composure and his mental toughness during really challenging times here in Miami. If you put other
look what Baker did. Look what Baker did.
Look what Lamar Jackson did. And now all is fine and good in Baltimore. He made the franchise look like a joke. You talk about these type of things. Tua does not get enough credit for his composure. It is an unbelievable trait, and it shows on the football field. And honestly, September is so damn far away. I think we have 17 more weekends to we actually have a meaningful NFL Dolphins game. The one thing I'm really concerned about, Reason, is YouTube get it right, or are they going to mess up like they did with that NBA game the other night?
What happened? I didn't see what happened. What happened?
It blacked out. I think the Heat game blacked out for the fourth quarter, if I'm not mistaken. Someone can throw in the chat. But I'm nervous about all of these streaming platforms because it could be a Monday Night Football game. Dolphins are on, and if the game goes out, I might go postal. But.
Well, is that because that's what you guys are forced to do, right? Because out here for the last couple of years, we've had DAZN. Bro, you know what I heard? I even heard that NFL International, the UK one that you could still access for all 22. I heard they got shifted to DAZN too.
Did they really?
That's what I heard. I don't know. I haven't had my Game Pass International charge come through. They charge me 48 Great British pounds every quarter,
Really?
which
Where we're
turns
heading,
out to be like, yo, you know how much the British pound of the
No, you're
48 ends out to be like $75 Canadian, bro.
really?
Yeah,
Well,
it's stupid.
I think we're heading into a world where you're going to be buying football games like on pay-per-view, like you're going to pay per game. I think that's the world we're going to head. There's so much money behind it. Like I would always say that I would get rid of the NFL ticket and stuff, but I came back every year. You know what I mean? Like I
You know what
always,
I think they're gonna try to weed out too? I know for a fact they don't like how everyone has access to the all 22.
oh, they're going to make it.
I
Yeah,
know they're gonna try and
they're
weed
gonna
that out.
monetize. They're going to monetize it. That's honestly, it's what smart things do.
Look at this. Look at this. For Game Pass.
What's it? 150 United States.
I don't know. I only have the international. So the zone for me, check this out. I can stop and cancel anytime. $25 a month.
Wow.
But I get soccer, I get fights. I don't just get football.
Yeah, that's amazing. So we had DirecTV had the NFL Sunday ticket here, and I want to say it was like $500 for the premium with the red zone and everything. But the last 2 years, if you called DirecTV and you negotiated with them and you were good, you could sell to them. I got it for free the last 2 years. I was just like, hey, I'm thinking about leaving. Like, boom, they gave it back to me. So like, you can work away, but it's gone. I mean, starting this year, it's gone. I think. Wait, or is it the Sunday ticket one more year? I don't know. It's done. Their contract's done. It's going to be YouTube TV this year and Amazon and all these streaming devices. So man, I hope they just don't drop the ball because it's a huge shift, man. And I don't know about you, but if I miss Tua throwing for 5 touchdowns and beating the Chiefs, I'm gonna lose it.
Russell says you paid $249 for NFL Sunday ticket on YouTube TV, but that's for subscribers. If not, it's $449.
Yeah, I saw that.
Over 450 of you in the room. Please smash the like button and subscribe if you are new. We just passed 11,300, so let's keep going. Final thoughts before we get out of here, Neil.
So I think it's going to be quiet for 13 days, but I still stand. I get asked this every day on Twitter. Yes, I still think Dalvin Cook's going to be a Miami Dolphin. I would say I think that's still going to happen. I think that there's mutual interest. I think we'll get a friendly deal to get him here. I think he wants to be here. I think the conversation is we're not going to make you the richest running back in football. You want to be here. You want to win. Let's work in the middle. And I think Dalvin's probably willing to play ball. I think the Vikings are going to cut him post-June because that's where they get the most savings. And I think the Dolphins are going to be smart. And they might, if they have to throw something in a trade to get him and rework the deal, they might do that. I just think that I'll tell everyone a homework assignment that I just did that's going to be really hard to do. I started to try to look without, taking anything that's going to happen in the offseason and make an initial 53-man roster. Dude, it's brutal. It is brutal. I mean,
we'll have our turn. We'll have our turn.
I mean, dude, it is when you
training
get to
camp, brother.
When you look at the when you get to like picks. Do you remember when you would just do that and you would mail in the last 10 players on the roster? You're like, these guys suck. Like, if we have to have this guy out there, we're cooked. Like, yeah. We're gonna cut legitimate NFL starters this year. Legitimate. Like I've seen people say, like, there's no chance the Dolphins could cut Cedric Wilson. Oh, I think there is.
Oh yeah, 110%. Yeah, I agree.
It's tough. And if they go out of Cam Fleming, right? Because if you ask me the best way to spend that $13.6 billion, I'm signing Cam Fleming, Dalvin Cook, and then I'm heading. I'm ready to go.
I agree. And listen, if Cam gets zoomed up, I'd still go get Brandon Shell because I like him better than Cedric Oboihi in terms of familiarity, and we've seen him perform.
What's it going to cost? $1 million? Like, honestly, in the NFL scheme, like, that's nothing to get Brandon Shell, who played pretty well overall here. Like, he played pretty well here.
He did. I mean, for a guy that, wasn't he's one of those guys where you kind of cringed at the thought of him playing more snaps, than a few games. He actually, held his own for a little bit there. And listen, there's familiarity, there's comfortability, and that's hard to really come across right now. And as far as like Cedric not making it, I mean, I've talked about this. You got Eric Izakama working out there with the boys, constantly perform. You got Braxton Berrios working out with the boys too, and even working out with Jalen Waddle's footwork coach. You've got all this bonding going, and Cedric Wilson is, standing around with his thumb up as what. And I heard he's more worried about. I heard he's more worried about interior designing his house down there than he is getting out with the boys.
Well, if that's the case, buddy, he won't be here because the Dolphins media team put out Tua throwing that pass with his bucket hat.
Robbie.
Chosen Anderson's the one catching it, man, and Chosen looks like he's hungry, man.
No, can I be honest with you? And you know how I pretty much felt this. I think Robbie and Izakama and Berrios have pushed him down. I think our top 5 right now is Waddle, Hill, Berrios, Robbie, and Izakama. That's your top 5 right now. And guess what? Bad news for Cedric. This staff really likes River Craycraft too. So,
And honestly, I think if they can't trade him, they'll eat the dead cap if they have to. If he can't, because the Dolphins don't have a luxury of just keeping people on the roster. They have too much talent here.
Yeah, they do.
They need to maximize this roster the best they can. That's going to help them win on Sundays. And honestly, the way it stands right now, having Cedric Wilson doesn't help you.
And look at the 3 we named. Braxton's your starting, slot guy, while Waddle and Hill are your starting boundaries, but they also fill in the slot. But then Robbie and Izakama fill that body type need that those other 3 don't give you too, right? So, and then Cedric falls in there. He's just a 4th body type of the first 3 we already got, but he's not as fast as them. So, anyways.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to have this problem, though.
It is, bro. When you're this talented.
Yeah, if you remember, before we had Waddle.
Wish we had this problem on the offensive line, though, Neil. I'm not going to lie to you.
Say it again.
Wish we had this problem on the offensive line, though. Not going to lie to you.
Well, yeah, man. You know what? We'll give one little peek ahead. The next year's offensive line class in the 2024 draft.
I'm already like 5 or 6 guys deep, bro.
Dude, it is absolutely insane how good next year's offensive line class is. I actually hope that's where.
Bro, I watch Joe Alt and I look at Eichenberg and I look at Joe Alt and I'm like, oh, that's what a real fighting Irish lineman looks like.
I mean, Joe Alt's a beast. Oh. I mean, there's a lot of really
Fashanu from Penn State. Oof.
Yep. There are some players, man. There are some players in next year's draft, but we got to win. We got a Super Bowl to win in the meantime.
Let's get it. All right, guys. I'm going to be back this weekend. Look for me on either Saturday or Sunday in the day. I will be keeping you all updated with the latest news, but also be dropping my Elijah Higgins prospect profile. We'll be doing an in-depth evaluation on him. Don't know if I'm going to do Ryan Hayes because I'm not as excited, but we'll see. We are doing Elijah Higgins.
He's going to be a practice squad guy this year, man. Them adding those veterans tell me that's he's got a year development coming.
Yeah. So we'll see you on the next one. Be on the lookout for me this weekend, guys. Until next time, you already know what time it is. Fins up all day, every day, baby.